Good morning. Hi, I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran this morning. How are y'all? Gotta have coffee first before we get started. Mm. Just want to take a second, let people get a minute to get on here. So we are doing, as Michelle calls it, spring cleaning and back to the basics. Um, it is how to start with the whole communication thing, and I think we forget sometimes that we have to stop that drowning feeling, and we have to kind of go back and evolve and reevaluate where we are, because we don't always do that well. Good morning, Sunny. So we have to do that. And, I've asked y'all about doing the notebook and taking the list, what works, what doesn't work for you. It's all really, really important. Again, I forget this. I have to get the housekeeping out of the way. We are not professionals. We are not paid counselors. If you need help, reach out. And everything in this video is copyrighted to Loving My Veteran and Walking in My Shoes. Now, that part's done. So I decided, I've had so much feedback on this series and wanting to get started, that at 10 a.m. on Fridays, Eastern Time, I will do a Zoom with a PowerPoint. It kind of goes over where we've been, what we're doing. You can ask questions back and forth at that point. So it'll be at 10 a.m. We will record it. And if we find that there's another time that works better, y'all just put it on there. I'll put it on the page and just put on there, this time really doesn't work for me, because I'm just kind of looking at a schedule. All right, so yesterday we talked about making that list, and we talked about how their mind works, how they're programmed, how they're torn down and rebuilt to be this person. So today we have to talk about communicating with this person. It's not that we have to get past the mindset that PTSD defines them. Okay? PTSD does not define them. Being a veteran does not define them. Good morning, Nakia, being my spouse and my partner, that defines him. Okay? So the PTSD does not define him. Being a veteran does not define him. He is my partner and my spouse, and he is also a veteran, and he also has PTSD. So when we stop defining them as a veteran and we stop defining them as PTSD, we're going to realize that we have a relationship. It's very important. Good morning, Sarah. It's very important that we understand that there's a difference. We have to love them because we love them. So I say that all the time. We have to love them because we love them. So, with that said, we realize that they have, after yesterday, that they have been torn down and rebuilt to be that warfighter mentality. Torn down, rebuilt to have that warfighter mentality. So I told y'all to start working on your list. Very detailed stuff in your list, very detailed, and you're going to start prioritizing it. So now we're going to talk about, once that list is finished, and like I said, it's not going to be today. It should be an evolving list. It'll probably take you 3 or 4 days to get a good list in place. Now you're going to prioritize. You're going to prioritize your things. What is the one thing? I call it 50 Shades of Grey, hard limits. Not 50 Shades of Grey hard limits, but your hard limit. What can you absolutely not have in your home anymore? What can you absolutely not have in your home anymore? A lot of people will say, I can't handle the drinking. Okay? Remember, drinking is a choice they have to make. You can set boundaries and parameters that say, you're not going to drink in the living room. If you want to drink, fine. Do it in the garage, do it outside, do it whatever, but you're not going to talk to me when you're drunk, and you're not going to drink in front of our kids. I mean, those are boundaries, and And those are very specific boundaries. If screaming is something you are not going to do anymore, or you don't want done to you, set the boundaries, but also set the tone. Okay, because what happens, and I can verify this, y'all know I'm a yeller. I've said it 1,000 times. I vomit, I scream, I yell this bleh out of my mouth. When I started talking quieter, they listen more and their voice comes down. Okay? You also can't get them to the trigger either, so there's a difference, and we'll work through those. First thing is, we learned this back in, oh girl, avoidance. You ain't lying. We talked about that the other day. They file everything into the box of avoidance. Ugh. We talked the other day about our rights. In January, we talked about our rights. Well, everybody has those rights. So they have a right to say no. They have a right to say yes. They have their rights. They have their right to feel the way they feel. It doesn't mean you have to. So when you start talking to them about behaviors, attitudes, avoidance, screaming, whatever, you can't go into them with this mentality that you do this and you have to stop. Okay? You do this and you have to stop. So when you do that, you are showing them more defectiveness. Okay? So take ownership for your feelings. Basically, you're going to say the exact same thing, but you're going to word it, I feel this way when you do this. Okay, you're saying the exact same thing, but you are taking ownership for the way you feel. Okay, so what that does is it starts a communication that is very, very simple. And what it does is it takes that negativity off from them. Say, I feel this way when you do this. And what happens is, and I'll give you an example. Let's talk about, Carl will say something and he is very non-sugar coated. I like my stuff with sugar coating, okay? I'm a southern chick. I like pralines. I don't like pecans by themselves, but you put that praline on it, I'm all about it. I like sugar coating. They don't do it. So when he says things to me, I take them as being hurtful. Okay? I take them as being hurtful. And I said to him, you know, I feel this way when you say this, or I heard. Okay, those are really key words. I heard this. Is this what you meant to say? And what they come back with is they don't realize that what they're saying is not what you're hearing. And now you've opened that line of communication, and you do it very calmly. You do it in a tone like this, and you cannot do it when they're triggered. Okay, again, when they are triggered, you might as well be talking to the wall. It's never gonna work. Avoidance, we've all dealt with that. We talked about that many times. Again, don't just sit here and say to them, avoidance is an issue. Be specific in your list and prioritize your avoidance. Be specific in your list and prioritize your avoidance. So, let me give you an example. You got a veteran that's got a disability rating, and they need to do the paperwork to take them to the next level. Okay, so you tell them, hey, look, we need to fix your claim. We need to get this done. We need to get that done. I need this, I need that. So now you're becoming needy, right? But if you, and they're avoiding it. They're like, oh, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later. Instead of giving them very specific tasks. honey, you're rated at this. If filling out a claim will increase so you're showing them the benefit, will increase your income. And in order to do that, this is what we need. And make them a very specific list. Okay? Even if it's 2 items at a time. And say, hey, work on this today and let's get this. And then tomorrow we'll add this. Now all of a sudden you have all the paperwork and now you're dealing with the claim and they're not avoiding the claim. So it can be a claim. It can be a job issue. It can be a relationship issue with family. It can be a situation that they don't want to discuss what's going on and where the problem is in our life. And so they put it in this box of avoidance. So you have to take that specific step. Erica's talking about running away. They tend to go run away. They do. I want you to think of the mindset. They don't feel worthy. Okay? Sorry, I'll have to have more coffee. They don't feel worthy. They feel broken. Running away is a sense of avoidance. They don't have to deal with the problem. They don't want to hurt you. The list goes on and on and on about why they run away. Most of our veterans in this situation have had failed relationships before, whether it is a childhood relationship, whether it is a relationship with their parents, whether it is failed marriages. Nakia is blessed and doesn't have that, but they had failed relationships. And so when you take these failures that have just come on, one after another, sometimes running away from the problem is a sense of avoidance, and they don't have to deal with it, and they put it in their box and they run away. To get past that, you have to reassure them, I'm not going anywhere. You can run away. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. Too bad. This is our life. We chose this. I chose this. And we're going to walk through this journey together. Okay? Yes, girl. That is funny that you said that. It can be something as simple as mowing the grass. It's not that they don't want to mow it. It's that they don't see it as a priority. That was our yesterday argument. That is so funny you brought that up. So yesterday, again, it has to do with communication. And I failed at my communication. I love to cut the grass. I've always loved to cut the grass. It's always been a thing for me. And so when I got sick, I obviously can't cut the grass like I used to. So the grass in the front yard, and we have a tiny front yard, okay, but the grass in the front yard is to my kneecaps. Well, it was to my kneecaps. To my kneecaps. It was time the grass got cut. So I had to run up to the store and do some errands, pay the light bill or whatever. And I told Carl, I said, hey, babe, while I'm gone, when you get the lawnmower out, make sure it has gas and prime it so that I can start it on one pull. And when I get back, I can cut the grass. Okay, so I'm riding down the road. I'm talking to Michelle. I said, I wonder if he cuts the grass, right? I wonder if he's going to cut the grass for me. Well, I pull in. No grass is cut. I'm livid. Okay, like throwing a tantrum. Livid. And that was like, so I snatched the lawnmower. I go to cut the grass. He gets it from me. He's like, I'll cut it. I'm like, no, I'll cut it. And so when we got done and it kind of cooled off, he said, you know why I didn't cut the grass? I said, no, why? He said, I didn't know you wanted me to do it. I thought you wanted to do it. You weren't clear in your communication. And I'm like, crap, I wasn't. Because he didn't want me, he felt like he was in a catch-22. If he cut the grass and it was something I really wanted to do because I like to do it, and I was capable yesterday of doing it, he was like, well, then I'm taking something away from her. When all I had to say was, hey, babe, the grass needs to be cut. Do you mind doing it? And it does irritate me a lot that I have to point those things out, just like it does to everybody else. And we think it's avoidance, but it's really communication. And that's where we have some of our issues, is just in communication. Sarah, let me tell you this, okay? Running, and I did it, I was so screwed up. I would tell Carl, get out. Get out. Leave. I'm done. um, I hated it. I did it all the time. And it created the seed of doubt. And when they feel, as they're programmed to be that warfighter mentality, when they're programmed and their buddies die and whatever dies, and I'm telling you to leave, and you've had failed relationships, that was the absolute worst thing I could ever do. So think about this as you're going to communicate. All this is going to help you in your communications. Hey, baby.
I do.
All this is going to help you do that. Eric, you make a very valid point when we're talking about this. You said you love mowing the grass too, and you discovered that some good communication this weekend because I didn't rely on him. It was a trigger, and he felt demasculated. They do. Demasculation is one thing we fall into a habit of doing. Okay, as when we step into, and it's very hard. It is very hard to step from spouse to caregiver, caregiver to spouse, and back and forth. That you can't always stay in that caregiver role. You can't always think, I'm going to take their PTSD from them, because you can't. It'll never go away. You can't take it from them. You can help them through that. But when we step into that caregiver role and we get the mentality of, well, I'm just going to do it because it's easier to do it than to get into it with them, because they have this thing called veteran time. And I'm sure y'all know what I mean. Veteran time. For Carl, it's always, I'll do it after the cigarette. I'm like, really? Can you not? The cigarette is portable. It goes with you. It isn't like, you have to sit down to smoke it. So it's veteran time. But when you do stuff for them that they do or can do, it is demasculating. I was working yesterday, I had cut the grass, and Carl said, what do you want for lunch, baby? And I'm like, I never know what I want for lunch, right? Okay. Girl, I'm going to get to you about that too. I'm tired of waiting the 2 months now for the Christmas stuff. Set a guideline, set a rule. I'll get you that in a minute. So Carl said to me, what do you want for lunch? Well, I never know what I want for lunch. I never know what I want to eat, whatever. And I didn't know. So he had started to fix his lunch, and then I went in and fixed my lunch, and he said, he came to me and he looked at me and he said, he was kind of like deflated. And I'm like, what? And he said, has it ever dawned on you that when I asked you what you wanted for lunch, when I asked you what you wanted for lunch, that maybe I wanted to cook it for you? And me going in and doing it took away something he wanted to do for me. So that is true communication, and you're going to get to that. Sarah, as far as the don't demasculate, you're tired of waiting 2 months now for the Christmas stuff, I give them deadlines. I do. I'm like, hey babe, we need to get this up. Can we do it today or tomorrow? Well, if it's not done by today or tomorrow, the next day I'm going to do it, because I gave them that opportunity without demasculating. You're right. Because there are days that that I could trip over something forever, because I guess it's their mind. I don't know how he works, but there are things that I'm like, I can't stand this dust anymore. I need to vacuum the floor. Do you not see this? It drives me nuts. So yeah. Okay, you have to sit snack. That's funny. So when you go to communicate with them, especially in the very beginning, okay? Yeah, the next day. I'll do it the next day. The next nice day. Girl, if I waited for the next nice day here, we would be waiting till hell freezes over. I finally told him there's an umbrella and I would carry it for him. I'm just saying. So when it comes to communicating, remember we've already talked about they can do one or two things at a time. They take one or two orders at a time. That was their objective. When you go in and you start to have a conversation and you initially start with what they're doing wrong, you're going to set the mind tone in a negative way. So flip the mind tone around. Flip the mindset around. Honey, we kind of got into it yesterday, and we just need to find a way to get past this. What do I do that triggers you? What's one thing? Limit it to one so you don't get into this all day, every day thing. But what do I do that triggers you? What did what can I do to change to help eliminate this issue? You don't like the problem. So what difference does it make if you change it or if they change it? Let's start eliminating the problem. So you've asked them for one thing. They give it to you. Carl's obviously, I've told y'all 100 times, was yelling, and I'm getting way better at that. And then when he was done, I said, okay, and the one thing I have is you're never going to lay your hands on me in anger. Okay? You're never going to lay your hands on me in anger. He never has. I mean, he's had rage and he's broken picture frames, but he's never laid his hands on me in anger. Okay? So that was our next thing. Then as we started to progress and we kept talking like this, and remember y'all, it takes 21 days to make something a habit. 21 days to make something a habit. So don't expect an overnight change. 21 days. You have to really work on it hard for 21 days. And when you talk about an issue and you say, well, you're doing it again, you have to remember, do you remember when we had this conversation? And you can't do it when they're doing it or when they're triggered. But when we had this conversation, you agreed to do this. And again, that's why you go back to the victory notes, because when you get through an argument and you're making it positive, okay, and you get through this thing that you've talked about and you're celebrating it because one time it's worked. You write that victory note and you hang it up, and now they see the progress, and so do you. It is a big deal to do that. Giving them accountability for their own actions is a big deal. You have to do that through communication. We can do everything for them because it's easier. And when we do that, we are demasculating, we are enablers, we allow them to put their stuff in their box of avoidance. All these things that we don't like. When you take a really good hard look, you're enabling that stuff that you don't like. It's why you write the letter that says, my name is Nakia. Okay? That's why you say, I'm done. This is on you. This is the fence you tore down. You have to fix it. I'll help you walk through it, but I'm not doing it for you anymore. Make a list. Give them something tangible that has to be addressed. It will work. So after we got through the hands in anger and the yelling, it took a while. I'm telling you, we had some explosive arguments. Y'all think I'm kidding. When I talk about explosive arguments, Carl threw an entire pizza on the ceiling one night. Not a good thing. Picture frames. We went through them all. I mean, it happened. Knock on wood, we have not had broken glass in our house in months. In months. We have not had a hole in the door or wall in months. Those are massive victories. But it literally took a lot of conversation. I'm like, why are you, I don't like it when you, sorry, when you tear our stuff up in anger. You say to me that you don't feel like this is our home and our stuff, and it is ours, and then I watch you destroy it. I don't like that. It's ours, and you're destroying us. When that happened, the light kicked in, and we're not doing that anymore. So it's all in the way you communicate. We narrowed it down because of the anger, it builds up, and they do have anger and rage. We narrowed it down to there was one door he could hit. Girl, it looked like the swinging barn door. Okay, it was awful. And the holes ended up in that one door for a long time. Now we don't do that anymore. We don't do that at all anymore. He gets frustrated, he might go outside and go for a walk. I get frustrated, I do something different. We don't do that anymore because we've evolved past that and we have communicated past that. Do we still get into it? Absolutely. Does he still get frustrated and yell sometimes? Absolutely. We've done that. But we've come a long way because of assigning blame where the blame is. I can't make him change. I can tell him how his behaviors make me feel. And when he does, when I do, that behavior starts to change. It's very simple. And think about them as well. We're both great at avoiding. We don't fight more, disagree. We both need to fix it. Girl, you just disappeared from nowhere. And it's so true. You know, we argue and we disagree and we go through all this stuff, right? And it's okay to disagree. You're never going to be exactly the same. And communication is one of the key things. So I urge you, once your list is done, rank it. Because then we're going to really talk about how to bring it up from one to the other. So today's issue is just finish that list and rank it and just think about conversations. The victory wall, I'm telling you, Melissa, you will love it. You will love it. It is so amazing. I did have to take mine down and put them on index cards and keep them in a file box because the whole wall was wallpapered in it. But I'm going back because this is my month, as Michelle calls it, a spring cleaning. And I'm going to go in and I'm starting a new victory wall. And it's just part of the stuff that go on. When you work on the issues, the same technique you use on them will become big. Yeah. When you work on your issues, that same technique, they're going to turn it around to you. But that's a compliment. That means they're listening. It means they're doing. It means they're seeing changes. It means that life is evolving. It means you're getting it. It matters. And I'm telling you, you're not drowning. I'm telling you, there is a life raft. I'm telling you, this is a long process. I'm telling you, this is a lifelong process. But it's not all PTSD. It is relationships. And learning to differentiate will become a huge issue for you. So you're making your list of things that you just can't deal with. On the very next page, or a couple pages over, because I have to leave lots of room to write on the things I can't deal with. And it's funny because in the beginning they were big things and now they're like little nitpicky refining things. It's funny how that list changes. Okay? Yeah, when you take that same tone back, when he is negative, you spiral, right? And he hears me talk the same way. He started to hear what I was hearing him say. And negative can play off of negative. So just make sure that you're very careful about how all of it comes into play. And when you want to address something with them, say, but this is what I heard. You know, I asked Carl the other day, I said, can we just have one day where we live in today? And he looked at me and he says, but I'm always thinking about the future down the road, and da 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 da, because I have to protect you. I said, Carl, that's great. But what if the future never comes? Can we just be happy in today? Okay? And Makisa, so much of our life has evolved and she still has a list and so does he. And we always will. And we always will have that list. That is called evolution. And that's what we do over time. We evolve. That's why I said this has been great, because if you go back and you watch what I did in September versus where I am now, it is a totally different mindset. I mean, I'm using the same skills, but I've learned so much more about them. And I've learned so much more effectiveness about them. So, that being said, I'm going to wrap it up for today. I do really want to talk about doing the PowerPoint with the Zoom. If you guys are into that, I will put that on the page. It's kind of like a poll. And I really like Friday at 10 a.m. If that works for y'all. I know Fridays are tough for a lot of people. So if you have a different time that works better, please let me know. Of course, we'll record it so you can get back, but you get feedback that way. I'm not just answering your questions. We're having real conversation, and I can share the screen with the PowerPoint issue. So what else do we have? Y'all are amazing. I am so proud. And don't forget, March we are celebrating women in history. I shared my very good friend Donna Martin, who I went to school with yesterday. Donna is a brigadier general in the Army, and she is doing CID at Fort Hood, and she is being the voice for the victims at Fort Hood. And I'm really proud of her, and she's investigating that to really get in and find out what went on at Fort Hood. So I'm proud of her for standing up to that. And Rosie the Riveter is my choice for today. When Woody was in the Navy, we were stationed at Alameda, and when they turned everything over, Alameda is where she was from. And there's a story about her and how she became the icon. So she is my woman in history today. We also have a Caregiver Hero of the Month, which we will have every month, and this month's hero happens to be none other than our Miss Nakia. She is truly my hero and my inspiration, and she has no idea what she means to me, and I hope the rest of this community. And I'm so proud of what she did with her underpinning. It made me super happy. And all that she does. So Nakia is our hero, and we want to celebrate her, so give her a shout out. That's it for today. We're going to continue to talk about how to get through this. This whole month is going to be on that. So I'll put that thing out there. Specific questions y'all have, topics you want to cover, and getting started from the drowning, we can do that. Y'all, I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran. I hope you have a blessed day. Bye.